Hi guys, and welcome to Dee's Media World. Today we're doing something a little bit different. No Inuyasha video this week. Decided to start my series of things I've watched, and things I've watched is basically random movies or television shows that I eventually have seen, that I finally saw, that people have talked about, and then my thoughts on them. And so the first one we're doing today is the film Secretary. It came out in 2002, and it features James Spader and Maggie Gyllenhaal. So this is a film that I've heard about the last couple of months or so, after, like, during the 50 Shades of Grey phenomena, and how people are like, oh, if you want to see, a film with featuring BDSM or whatever, then you might as well see Secretary. It's a much better film. And I had no doubts about that because even though I have not seen 50 Shades of Grey, I do know the contents of the book. I've listened to someone read the book on YouTube, a fellow YouTuber, and so I knew, like, what happens in the book and stuff, and how there's not a lot going on in it. I've seen plenty of movie reviews on it, so I know a pretty decent amount about 50 Shades of Grey. But this isn't really a video comparing the two films or anything like that. This is just how I found out about Secretary. As I said, it came out in 2002, and it's a movie sort of about BDSM, or about controlling relationships and submissive and dominant. But before I even, like, say that, there is some light spoilers in here. I don't want to spoil, like, everything or anything. I'm not going to spoil how it ends or anything like that. But it'd be nice if you see the movie first. I saw it last night on HBO Go that I have. If you have HBO or any of those, like, HBO Go, which you can look at on your computer or on your TV or whatever, or it might be under free movies under HBO on your, if you have DirecTV or something, or Comcast, and you'll be able to watch the whole film. That's how I was able to see it. But anyway, so now that I've said that, not my piece about it, let's, like, actually talk about the movie. This movie is actually really good, and not that I was surprised by it, but I think I'm surprised by what type of good it is, because this is a film that kind of focused more on the characters than on, like, the BDSM stuff. Because, like, 50 Shades of Grey kind of entices people to see it because of, like, the sex and things like that. But this film, no spoilers really, but this film doesn't have that much sex. Like, I really was surprised at that. To be honest with you, there is nudity, but it's not till, like, the last couple of minutes of the movie. Not that there isn't BDSM or dominant submissive throughout the film. It's just, like, there's no actual, like, nudity or explicit sex in the film. I was really surprised by that. That was definitely my biggest surprise watching the movie. And then how much I enjoyed, like, these quirky in the right way kind of characters. Like, a lot of characters nowadays, like Bella Swan or Anastasia Steele from 50 Shades of Grey, they want these characters to be so relatable that they're kind of bland. You know what I mean? But Maggie Gyllenhaal's character, Lee, is her name. She she's not super relatable. She's relatable enough, but she's clearly a character. Like, there are people out there like this. Like, one of the things about her, I wouldn't call this quirky, but one of the things that you learn about her is that she cuts herself. And she actually, the movie begins with her coming out of the institution, I guess, that was supposed to get her over it. And she cuts herself. That's not funny, but, like, the fact that, that's that. But then her personality, like, she's kind of weird, and at times she's borderline pathetic in some ways, because she sort of falls in love with, the James Spader character, which his name is Mr. Grey. Which, when I heard his name, I was like, okay, did 50 Shades of Grey take that too? Like, it took this kind of office romance sort of thing idea from this film, and it took its name. Okay. I was like, really? And the characters, and then he too he's strange. In fact, there's some things I'm not even sure if I understand about him. Like, he takes pictures of all his secretaries, but not really asking them to. But he's a control freak, but his control is not typical. Like, it's a strange kind of control, and you're sort of fascinated by him. Not like, because when in 50 Shades of Grey, like, they want you to want Christian Grey in some ways, like, because he's rich and he's famous and stuff. But in this film, in Secretary, I don't think they care. Like, the creators of the movie, I don't think they care if you want James Spader's character or not. It's the fact that Maggie Gyllenhaal's character wants him. Like, it's not focusing on oh, what the audience wants. It's focusing on what these kind of characters want. Like, this movie, the second thing, let me move on from that. The second thing about this film is that it is funny. And you notice how I'm laughing and smiling. I'm just thinking about some of the lines and some of the stuff. It has this weird kind of humor where the characters do stuff that is just weird, and you kind of laugh at it. Like, I'll give you an example. There's a point in the film, obviously, because has realism, where he's like controlling her and stuff. But one of the ways that he controls her is by telling her what to eat. So like she'll tell him, okay, my mom made, because she lives with her parents, my mom made mashed potatoes, peas, something something else, whatever, and he'll be like, okay, you can only eat one spoonful of mashed potatoes and 4 peas and all the ice cream you can want. And then she actually does it, and her family is looking at her. Her family is looking at her like she's insane. That's funny. It's funny later on when she's there's a part of the film where they sort of have miscommunication, I suppose. And this is kind of a little bit of a spoiler, but he stops doing the BDSM. He stops controlling her and stuff like that. And she goes in the bathroom. She goes in the bathroom and starts pleasuring herself, and she's screaming or yelling 4 P's, 4 P's. It's funny in context, but that's an example of the type of humor in this movie has. Like, it's not laugh out, fall on the floor funny, but it's situational funny, I guess. Like, because these characters are weird, to say the, and that's kind of what you like about them, because you like Maggie Gyllenhaal's character, and I don't know why. Like, I think she's weird enough for me. I think other people, maybe more conservative people, would not find her funny or find the situation humorous. But if you're that way, don't watch the movie, because even though I don't think it's that bad, I think some people describe it as a romantic comedy. To be honest, I wouldn't call it a romantic comedy. I think it's romantic comedy-esque. Like, it has elements of a romantic comedy. Like, the comedy is there. Don't get me wrong. But there's no, like, slapstick, or there's no, like, misunderstanding, bullcrap. There's no, like, none of that. In terms of romance, I wouldn't even really say there's romance in it either. It kind of deserves its own category of film. But in terms of, like, the movie itself, the one thing I think I loved a lot about it is that you don't know where it's going. And it is such a breath of fresh air to watch a film where you don't really know what's gonna happen. Like, it's not like it's totally unpredictable, but it feels like, at some points it feels like real life, where, you don't know what's gonna happen next in your life. Like, you might end up with this person, you might not. But then there's a point in the movie where you're thinking, okay, this totally would not be happening, or this is almost a joke that this is happening. So I'm like, okay, that's not really reality. That's silly. That's just silly comedy. That's where the comedy part comes in. But I love that this film, it makes sense in its own world, and that you don't know how it's gonna turn out. Or even if it turns out the way you expected, the journey, how it gets there, you couldn't have predicted. I bet you this. If you see the film and you predicted how it ends, I would give you a pat in the back, because I was like, when certain things happen, I'm like, is this for real? Like, that's actually happening? Okay. That's funny. It's clever. It's a good movie. It's clever. I'm actually really surprised, like, how much I like this movie. I mean, I planned on starting this series of things I watched, but I was going to do something else that was a little more popular. But when I saw this movie last night, I was like, okay, I got to talk about this film. I really do recommend it. Let's see what some other things. The acting is, the casting is really good. I think I looked at a comment someone had made about the film. It might have been Roger Ebert, or it might have been somebody else online when I was looking at some of the reviews of the film, and they were saying in terms of the casting, it worked because the characters were kind of plain enough. Like, they were realistic enough. Like, these are people you might see every day. They weren't like in 50 Shades of Grey, they want Christian Grey to be so fine. You gotta love him, whatever. Here, these are like typical people. Maggie Gyllenhaal, yeah, like, she's kind of an average looking woman. There's times in the movie where I feel like she looks really beautiful, and there are other times where I'm thinking she's kind of average looking. It doesn't really matter. And so is James Spader. Actually, James Spader is handsome, but you kind of buy that they would be together. Like, it's not all about that. They're not staring at each other's eyes all the time. They actually have some real conversations. and they feel genuine. Like, because James Spader's character, you know, he's kind of a control freak. He's kind of reserved, not in a typical way. In a like he's obsessive compulsive a little bit, and like he lines up his red pens and stuff. Like he has this thing where she's the secretary obviously, and he's her boss. He's a lawyer, and she'll have to write. She has to type letters on a typewriter, and he'll correct them with the red pen, and that's kind of actually how the relationship starts. No, like that's a light spoiler, but he starts by spanking her, and it kind of comes not out of nowhere. It's hinted towards in the movie, but you're thinking, this is so funny to me. I was laughing. Like, I don't, some people think it's sexy. I was laughing personally. And maybe it depends on your interpretation of what's going on, but I thought that was funny. In terms of like the act, but I was saying with the acting, it's really good. It's solid. I believe Maggie Gyllenhaal's character is kind of pathetic, but she's almost quirky enough that she gets away with it. I can't really see another actress pulling off almost pathetic like this. Like, you kind of feel bad for her, but then at times you don't, because she has kind of this optimism and this kind of happiness about her. Not like a cartoon or like a character who, you know, never feels pain. She feels pain. She cuts herself. You know, she's in her family is dysfunctional to some degree. Her dad's an alcoholic and all that kind of stuff. But you kind of like that she feels like a real person, I suppose. That's what I'm getting at. But she still has kind of some optimism. She's very likable. And then James Spader, I find him likable too in a weird way. And he keeps it 100. He's kind of strict. I can believe his character is like this. I'll put it that way. Everything is believable about them. Let's see what else I have. Is the film sexy? Because some people say, you know, to be honest, I guess so. I guess I would call this sexy. I also saw, what's that movie called with is her name Sharon Stone and I think Michael Douglas. I can't think of the name right now. Not Body Heat, something else. And it's, oh man, I can't think of the name. But there's a famous scene in it where she uncrosses her legs in the cop room or whatever. And she's not wearing underwear. I can't think of the name of the movie right now. I saw the movie, and you know, it's considered one of those sexy movies you have to see. I didn't really find it that sexy. Maybe at the time period it was. I don't know if I had saw this movie in 2002, if I saw Secretary in 2002, I would have found it sexier. Even though I was a kid then, so I shouldn't have been watching it. But I don't know. I don't know if sexy is the word. I really find it more so interesting and intriguing and funny than I would say sexy. Like, I think it would be a fun movie to watch with like a good friend of yours, or like, no, let me rephrase that, a friend who can handle this kind of stuff. Like, you don't have to watch it with like your partner or something, because I was laughing. Let's see. Yeah, when I was not overly sexual in term, maybe that's why. Yeah, it's not overly sexual. Maybe because I don't find either of them, or I don't really find them super attractive, but I do find them really interesting characters. So I guess I wouldn't call them. I was really surprised how non-sexual the movie is, as in it's not trying to make it sexy. It's not trying to be arousing. It's just kind of showing you these characters' lifestyle. Like I'm saying, like there are scenes in here, like the spanking, like that might turn some people really on. But to me, as I said, I was laughing at it because he's the way he does it. I can probably put the clip in my description box of the scene where, because it's on YouTube, where he smacks her butt or whatever, and she's really shocked by it, and her reaction is so authentic that it's cracking me up. But I don't know, I didn't think the movie was like super sexual. I mean, there is a sex scene later on in the movie, but when people talk about this film, they make it seem like there's a lot of sex in it, there's a lot of nudity or something. I'm like, I'm not joking. Maggie Gyllenhaal, she does get naked in this movie. It's not to the last 5 to 10 minutes. Like, it really isn't. They don't even have, like, this is a real spoiler, guys, but and turn it off if you don't want to see the spoiler, but they do not have sex until, like, the last 5 to 10 minutes of the movie. Like, actual sex. Like, everything before that was him spanking her, what else he do? Tell her what to do, crawling on the floor, all that kind of stuff, but they don't actually do it until into the movie. And even that's not like in super detail. So I found that interesting. I was really shocked at that. I was like, really, guys? I mean, maybe they hadn't seen this movie in a while, but I'm like, okay, it's not what I expected, but yeah, more focus on the characters than the BDSM. That's definitely true. What I'm saying is like they don't have sex toward the end, but also the fact that Maggie Gyllenhaal's character spends more. We see more of her probably in her what she's going through with her life's like. She actually has a boyfriend who she's kind of with. I think every person has probably had someone like this in their life, but they're with somebody just because they're there. Like, I don't have a particular interest in this person, but they're providing something. They're not really. I'm not in love with them. I'm not. I don't really care for them that much, but they care about me. So I guess I'll be with them because I can. That's kind of what this relationship was. What she has with this guy. That's going on, but I mean, like the characters are. You see more of the characters. You kind of, as weird as her character is, Lee, you kind of understand her thought process to some degree. So it makes her kind of likable, but it also makes her kind of relatable. Because characters, we love seeing characters that are relatable, but a really good character sometimes is not that relatable. And not all the time. Like some ways she's relatable, sometimes she's not. Let's see. But basically, this movie strangely works. And I don't know why. I think it's because of the characters. I think it's because of the actors. I think Maggie Gyllenhaal was great in this movie, and it's funny. I couldn't believe how funny this movie was. Like, it's the kind of film you see and then you think about minutes after. Like, there's some movies that you see and then once it's over, you're thinking about other stuff. Like yesterday, I saw The Wedding Ringer with Kevin Hart. I actually enjoyed the movie. Don't get me wrong. But it's not a movie you think about after it's over. You don't sit and discuss it. You don't have a conversation with somebody about it and say, what do you think about this, this, and this? What do you think about that part? What's your opinion on that part? Everything in that kind of movie is like drawn out for you. You generally know how it's going to end. It's not a bad movie. Don't get me wrong, it's funny at times. I enjoyed it, but it's not a movie I would do a review on. It's not a film that I would say I would have a long discussion about. It's kind of predictable. It's kind of what I expect movies to be sometimes, especially comedies. But this film, even though it came out in 2002, it was refreshing to watch. That's really what I'm getting at. If you can watch, I'm sure this movie's rated R. If you can watch a rated R film and, see some rated R material, you will enjoy this movie. I mean, BDSM is in here, but I wouldn't say there's a lot of it. Like, it's not oversaturated with it at all, in my opinion. There's more other stuff going on. For someone who expected a lot of that and like just sex in the movie, but actually got character, plot going on, random stuff, funny things happening, I would totally suggest this movie. Nobody talks about how funny this movie is. And that's kind of the reason I wanted to talk to you guys about it, is because I did not expect it to be this interesting. I didn't expect it to be this funny. And I didn't expect to like it this much. And I actually had a lot to say. I don't even know how long this video is. It's probably 10 or 15 minutes by now. But I do suggest seeing this film. Not everything I'm going to do on this segment is going to be things I love or I would suggest to you guys. But the idea is for me just to put out my opinion on something. I love my channel. I love doing what I do. I love doing Inuyasha videos, and I continue to do that. But every once in a while, I'll do something different. And I hope you guys appreciate that. And, comment and tell me what you guys think. If you've seen Secretary, what did you think of the movie? Am I right? And is it not, like, as bad as it sounds? Like, it's not just, like, whips and there's no whips or chains in this, by the way. But, I mean, there's a weird scene. I'll tell you the weirdest scene or the weirdest thing she does in this movie is, he has her on her desk he has, like, hay on his desk. Sorry, his or her desk. I think it's her desk. Don't remember. Puts a saddle on her. She's on top of the desk and crawling or like in on her knees, whatever. He puts a saddle on her. Puts a carrot in her mouth. And they want you to. I know they want us to laugh at that. You can't see something like that and not laugh, guys. That is not meant to be taken that seriously. Puts a carrot in her mouth like she's a horse, and I guess from there on is up to your imagination. You're not going to really see what happens next, what he does to her next, guys. It's not that kind of movie. They leave things to the imagination at times, which I can appreciate that. To be honest, sometimes some films need you need to leave some things to the imagination. I don't have to see everything. That's why when at the towards the end when she actually does get naked, I was thinking, oh, okay, they're actually showing her whole body. There and she does get completely naked. I'm like, oh, that almost wasn't necessary actually. In terms of criticisms, do I have any? I guess I said so many positive things. Um, I don't really. I wouldn't say this is a perfect movie. I would definitely watch it again, but I guess one of the criticisms I just announced is towards the end when you do see her naked. I'm thinking I didn't really need to see her naked at this point. After everything else I've seen, I don't really need to see this movie. Seeing the nudity. But really, that's probably the only real negative I have. I mean, the movie does look dated in some ways. Not, it doesn't feel dated like how the characters talk or anything, but like when I was watching, I'm like, this movie came out in 2002. You could have told me 1999 and I would have believed you. As old as it kind of feels like but that can't be helped. Some things can't be helped. Um, but I guess the last thing I'll say about it is that it's a movie that doesn't take itself so seriously, and it's fun to watch because you don't know what's happening. You don't know what's gonna happen. Like, there's some real conversations in here too. I love the conversation um, when he tells her not to cut herself anymore. Spoiler. And he asks her about her life, and he asks her like, you know, why do you do the things you do? Why you're the way you are, and stuff like that. And you find it kind of an interesting, legit conversation. I mean, they don't have a bunch of those or anything, but you believe what's happening in this world, and that to some degree, I think the difference maybe between this and 50 Shades of Grey or something like that is that it's not focused on fantasy. There's some moments in this movie where it's focused more on like what could be reality. Like, she's chasing after this guy. He Spoilers again. In the middle of the film or so, he decides to stop doing the whips, and I mean stop spanking her or whatever, and he's like legitimately not interested in her, and that's real. I can tell you that's real. Like, to not have someone you're interested in just stop being interested in you all of a sudden, like, that's real stuff. And the film isn't focusing on fan service. I think that's what I'm really getting at. There's no like, oh, hey, I know what women like. They like guys when guys would do this. There's and stuff like this. It's it makes sense with what the characters are doing, I would think. And there's a part where she really proves to him that she wants to be with him. And it works for their damn relationship. I will tell you this, it works for them and the characters in the film. It's not supposed to work for everybody. It's not supposed to be that way for every woman and man in a relationship. So that's really what I appreciated about the film. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really talking about it longer than I expected to, guys. So I think I have said everything I had to say about Secretary. I go see it. No, you can find it online. It's an old movie. You probably won't find it at your local Walmart or in the $5 bin or anything like that. But I think I would go see this. I would tell you to see it with someone who can watch this kind of humor, sexual humor to some degree, and not be grossed out or pissed off or upset. Because I know some people who couldn't watch this stuff. Anybody who can watch, not your parents, obviously. Even though I would say there are points in the movie where I'm like, surprisingly, some of this you could watch with your parents. Because you know how there are some movies